Yes.
כולם שומעים?
אני יכול...
Orders from the top.
No. It's on. Stop.
שומעים?
I brought the wrong set.
Can you hear? I have no voice. I can't talk. If this doesn't work, then we can't have the show.
Yoti, which way
Higher,
you want
higher.
it?
No.
The Tato,
Oh,
can you hear?
Yeah.
Can you hear?
a little higher. Little higher. There you go.
Can you hear all right?
Now better.
Yes, sir.
I think so.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו מיוגדו.
Amen.
You hear a bracha through a microphone? Can you make a amen?
אז הרב פותח ככה, איך מצייני הדרך המרכזיים of the indications and signs of how to go in the derech of Yidden, B'nai Yisrael, Kabbalah Sapteva, or Yoho, Rosh Chodesh Sivan. The one on that on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the Yidden reached Midbar Sinai. Can everybody hear me?
Very good.
Yidden reached Midbar Sinai, and it's written in the Torah, B'yom Hazeh, Bo Midbar Sinai. And the Gemara learns out of Masechta Shabbos that the expression B'yom Hazeh is referring to Rosh Chodesh. It learns it out from a Gezerah Shova. So the Yidden arrived on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, and Matan Torah was on Vov B'Sivan, which means that all the remaining days after they came into Midbar Sinai were preparations for Matan Torah. And the Alter Rebbe brings it down in Shulchan Aruch that immediately on Rosh Chodesh, Moshe Rabbeinu, or immediately the day after Rosh Chodesh, Moshe Rabbeinu began busying himself with the Yidden, Lisasek Imohem, that's the Alter Rebbe's expression, to busy himself with them to prepare them for Matan Torah. So for him, the coming into Midbar Sinai was like a big change in direction with the arrow pointing to Matan Torah. Yes, Bo Yisrael, Midbar Sinai, Shom Le'acha Mikain, Nitna Torah. Well, Le'acha Mikain is only a few days, during which every day Moshe Rabbeinu was going up and down, and Kaviyachol was the famous dialogue with Hashem, which he was given all sorts of instructions to come down and prepare the Yidden for Matan Torah. Makiva, Midbar Sinai, since it follows then that they're coming into the desert of Sinai, kosher the Matan Torah, since the Midbar Sinai is a forerunner to, and it's very connected with the union of Matan Torah, Kenema Moshe Kibul Torah mi Sinai. We see at the beginning of Pirkei Avos, where we want to discuss how Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah from Hashem. Then we don't say Moshe received the Torah from heaven, or he received the Torah from the Eibishter. No, we use the expression Moshe Kibul Torah mi Sinai. From that we see that the actual place called Midbar Sinai has a very central place, and that's the way of describing how Moshe Rabbeinu, how he received the whole Torah. Torah nitna davke bamidbor, and we see that not only the Midbar was called Sinai, But in our parasha, it's called openly Midbar, desert. Yeah, and we see that it's a very interesting thing that the whole book is called bamidbor. The whole Sefer Ravi is called bamidbor, which means that the being in the desert seems to be a central union to the whole meaning of receiving the Torah and the whole development of the Sefer, which follows it. So we need to understand what's this basic connection of desert, and the whole Sefer is called bamidbor. It's interesting that the Goyim call it numbers, and even in certain Jewish circles they write the name for the fourth book, Numbers. And that's also very powerful because the whole of the parasha is full of very exact numbers. And those very exact numbers, according to the Rebbe Rashav in a famous Maimah, they all are representative of the Shemus Elyonim and so many numbers, and so show to so many Inyonim, how they are in El Matzilas and El Mabriya. So the concept of numbers is also very, how do you call it, essential. But the Rebbe is dealing here more with the fact that it had to be Sinai, but it had to be Midbar Sinai. Shehu Mokim Hefker, what a desert is a unowned place, how do you call it, a Mokim Hefker, that there are no owners of the Midbar. I suppose nowadays there are. I should imagine that probably the Arabs claim ownership of the Sahara Desert, or all the different deserts that there are. But once upon a time, everybody kept away from a desert, and a desert was just an open place where nobody had any clear ownership. So he said that the Midbar is a Mokim Hefker, a place of disownment. Kidei Lahoyreis, in order to show Shekol Yehudi Yochol Lomay Torah. In other words, that there's no open possession or ownership of the Torah. No matter who you are, and where you are, what you're doing, if you just want, you can come along and learn Torah and nobody's going to interfere. On the contrary, you're going to get a lot of brachas. So therefore the Rebbe said, in that regard, the desert is hefker. That comes to indicate that a Yid is able, under any circumstances, to grasp the Torah. He doesn't need the previous conditions which make him worthy of the Torah. Lochein, and therefore, Kishabnei Yisrael Higiur Lamidbar Sinai. When they came to the desert called Sinai, as Higias Man, Shabnei Yisrael Yikablu Satorah. And the Rebbe brings a medrash, a famous medrash. I think it's a medrash Rabbah. It's also brought in the Yogit Shemainim. It's brought down that immediately the Yidden came into Midbar Sinai. Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, now is the moment, now is the time that I can give you the Torah. So they were, not all that far from Midbar Sinai. Before that, they were in different places. But only at this moment, when they came to the desert, then Hashem said to them, to Moshe Rabbeinu, this is the fit time that I'm going to be able to give you Torah. But from that it's mashma that Davka, when they came into the Midbar, called Midbar Sinai, then it was the right time. That was the moment that they could receive the Torah. But therefore, it seems that the Midbar has a very central role in the whole Kabbalah Satir, and therefore, Tomid Livnei Chag Mat Torah. Therefore, always before Shavuot, which is Chag Mat Torah, Kurim is a parsha Bamidbar Sinai. Every year before Shavuot, we read Bamidbar Sinai. Sometimes we read it like 2 weeks, like this year we have Bamidbar, and then we also have Nosai. And Shavuot will be immediately after Parsha Nosai. Of a bamidbor in Rov years, that's the one immediately before. And under any circumstances, it's always read before Kabbalah Satera. And that's brought down in the Torah. The Torah, the great predecessor of the Shulchan Aruch, he brings down in a certain chapter different sort of chapter heading and rules that govern the infant Kriyas HaTorah. And over there he writes that one of the rules that governs Kriyas HaTorah is that bamidbor Sinai must always be before Matan Torah, every year. You just read bamidbor Sinai is before Matan Torah. Kivan shehine hamokim harawui l'Matan Torah. Since bamidbor Sinai is the worthy place, like Hashem said to Moses, this is the, you've come here, then this is the time to give the Torah. There's a simon that there's something about the midbar that's fitting, and having reached the midbar, now it's the fitting time to give them the Torah. So we need to understand what's over.
It's a place where you can't sustain yourself. Only by Hashem can you live in the desert, in the midbar. You cannot sustain yourself in the desert. A person will pass away in the desert. It's only by Hashem giving us the life in the desert we lived.
Yeah, it could be what you're saying is right, but I'm totally sorry I didn't get it. As, you see, when I have a bad throat, my ears are blocked. Noise of the usual problem, I also can't hear.
The only point I'm making is the desert is a place you cannot live without Hashem. Hamidbar.
So that's what we see, that Hashem was giving the Torah. He said when they came to Midbar Sinai, now I can do it. So we see that the Midbar is a leading factor. You follow? That's all. So he said, Torah ain't a hefker. He said, Midbar is in a makom hefker. Like we began, that the Midbar is a unknown place. It's a place of dishonor. Makom shaloi shayach ba'af echad. Doesn't belong to anybody. Yeah, who a filo later shus arabim. It's a filo, not a how do you call it? A public thoroughfare. It's not a public thoroughfare. The midbar is what's called in the lashon of the Gemara Karmelis. It's not a reshus arabim, but it's not a reshus yochedida. It's a reshus arabim midrabbanan, but it's not an emes of reshus arabim. It's not a reshus. Why? Because a reshus arabim at least belongs to the rabbim. Whoever the rabbim are, whoever the public are, they own the reshus arabim. Of a desert, he said nobody owns it. It's just completely beyond any ownership. It's not even a reshus arabim. Mokim sheshayach l'rabbim. A reshus arabim is something at least it belongs to the rabbim. Lochein kol echad yochol lekachas misham ma sheberetzeinai. Therefore, in the desert, whatever happens to be in the desert, you can, if you want, you can take it. However, the Rebbe says that that whole concept that the Torah is hefker and you can come along and take it if you want. He said it sounds very good, but mitzad echad from one side, it doesn't seem to make sense. It seems to contradict our whole concept of the Torah. Yeah, the Torah was not made hefker by the Eberster. Ad kedei kach, sheyesh Torah, like noises of Torah, that Hashem would have made it hefker would mean that you would have to go and purchase for yourself the Torah. Ella nitno mi balus shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu lebalusom shel kol am Yisrael. The Eibusha gave the Torah not in a way that he just threw the Torah out. Somebody said the Torah is hefker. No, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave from his ownership of the Torah. It's called Torah Hashem. It belongs to him. But what did Hashem do? He gave that gift, and he gives it and shares it with the Jewish people, and he gives it into their ownership. So that when a Yid learns Torah, it becomes like part of him and shared to him. So it would seem that the whole inner of Matan Torah was just a change in ownership, that Hashem released his absolute ownership on the Torah, and he allowed other owners to come in. And therefore the Torah belongs to every Jew. But if you say it's hefker, then that contradicts that whole concept. So therefore he says, Ela nitna b'ba'alus ha'ishal HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'ba'alusam shel kol Am Yisrael v'lochen ha'Torah shayechet l'kol Yehudi. And there the Torah has a connection with every Yid. Afilu latinek shanoi l'ze'at, afilu latinek which has been born now. He's only what's called a tinek ben yoimai. He's just been born. Yeah, the Torah also belongs to him. It's his, as it were, possession. Yeah, but ain't certainly likna, it's just a Torah. You don't have to take the kid and run around with him, that he should be queen of the Torah from there. He gets it, it's automatically his. And the same with a Yid, who doesn't really know a great deal about Torah, the Torah also belongs to him. And all you got to do is reveal that he's really the owner of the Torah. So if the Rebbe said if that's the case, Im Kain, if that's the reason, Ma Siva Shatera Nitva Davke bamidbor. Is Im Kain Lechora, the whole Torah that we use, that it's hefker, that tends to fall away. Because it's not really. The Torah is not hefker. And it's an ownership of every Yid. Is Im Kain, why do you have to give up bamidbor? Give it in a nice country setting, a luxury surrounding, give it to all the Jews and they all become owners of the greatest thing in the world, the Torah. But why did you give it Davki in a midbor, which is Einochanami Amokim Hevker, and it's also not a Rishus Arabim. It's not a public thoroughfare either. So why did Hashem make the giving of the Torah in the desert Aikar? And as soon as they came to the desert, then he said to Moshe, oh, this is the moment. Now that you're here, now you're going to get the Torah. So the Rebbe said, Yeshna Parsha and Eisefes Akashura Matan Torah. There's another Parsha, in addition to Parsha Bamidbor, which is also connected with Matan Torah, and that's Parsha Bahar B'chol Koisai. In Chutzpah, in the year when the Rebbe said the Sikha in Toshin Nonaru, they read Bahar and B'chol Koisai together. Yeah, they were in one Parsha. Yeah, Oisa Koirim B'derech Klal, but that unity of Har and B'chol Koisai usually is read B'derech Klal, Lifnei Rosh Chodesh, Sivan. Generally speaking, that's Lifnei Rosh Chodesh, and then Bamidbor is usually the week in which there occurs Rosh Chodesh Sivan, and that's just before Matan Torah. So the Rebbe said, since Bahar and B'chol Koisai are also before Rosh Chodesh, they would also, it would appear, have some sort of a connection with Rosh Chodesh Sivan and with the giving of the Torah. So he said, Masupa, it's brought down in the Gemara, Ezra HaSeifa, but Ezra HaSeifa was very, very early. He was from the early Bovel. He was from the great leaders of the Jewish people that they came back from Bovel. And Ezra HaSeifa Tikin Livnei Yisrael, Sheyikru Livnei Chag Matan Torah, as Parsha B'chol Koisai, Amidberetz al Brochas. He said that Ezra HaSeifa made always that they, every year before Matan Torah comes around, we read Parsha B'chol Koisai. And he said, what is in Parsha B'chol Koisai? Brochas. Be'im Yikayim Mos HaTorah, U'klolis Chas V'sholim. Yeah, if they won't keep the Torah, then there's what's called Teichach, the infant Klodah. Aval, and this is a Teisvus brought down in Masechta Megillah. The Gemara says, and Teisvus also brings down about it, Aval Kedei Sheyeh Hefsek Bein HaKlolos L'Chag Matan Torah. that not to read the clothes that immediately to have Matan Torah. Therefore, Ezra Sefer arranged all the parshas in such a way that there would be a break between the clothes and Matan Torah. And what is that? Bamidbor Sinai. That a parsha Bamidbor Sinai is always before Matan Torah, not because it's necessarily got a very close kesher with Matan Torah, but it comes in order to interrupt between the Klolis and Matan Torah and Chag Matan Torah. So Rebbe said the Rebbe, according to that, it comes out that the reason why we read Midbar Sinai is because it's an interruption between the Klolis and Matan Torah. So Kundra says that we've got two tamim. One time is that Midbar Sinai's got a connection in the Midbar with the Torah. Another time is that it comes in order to interrupt between the Klolis and Chag HaShavuot. So therefore says the Rebbe, "Parshas Bahar b'chukaisai kashuras l'matan Torah gam bishmo." He said the two parshas, Bahar and b'chukaisai, are connected and have a shaykhs with Matan Torah also in their names. Hashem shall Parsha Bahar Sinai, Parsha Bahar is Bahar Sinai. He said, there Hashem shall amokim boi nitna ha-Torah, kiyadut. That's the place where we receive the Torah, Bahar Sinai. Vashem shall b'chukaisai, misamel es aseret ha'dibra. That symbolizes the Ten Commandments, Shayu Chakukim. It's well known that the Ten Commandments were engraved on the stones. And engraved is the word Chakuka. And therefore the Alter Rebbe explains in Likutei Torah that the word B'chukaisai is from the word Chakika. In other words, the B'chukaisai indicates how the Torah is engraved on the stone. That's a very profound and deep inyan. What that indicates is the service of the whole Torah, which is the Aseret HaDibros, but that he called engraved oisias, but they're part and parcel of the stones. They go into the stones, and they are part of the stones itself. Aseret HaDibros, and in addition to that, the Ten Commandments, but there's certain Sfarim, but they go into that and they show how every os in the Aseret HaDibros has got a shaykhs to certain mitzvahs in the Torah. The Rabbeinu Sadia HaGoyen amongst the Rishonim, and also up to our time, even in the Achronim, certain great people that they want to show how every letter of the Aseret HaDibros is connected with certain mitzvahs of the Torah, which means that the Aseret HaDibros have in themselves, at least behelim, the whole Torah kula. It follows that Bahar and B'chukaisai are also connected with Matan Torah. And we read them before Matan Torah, but we want to make an interruption between them and Chag Matan Torah, because they also got the inyan of the clothes. But that's not very pleasant, and therefore we want to make an interruption. So he said, Kam Atoikum. Also the inner message of the two parshas, Bahar and B'chukaisai, is also connected to Matan Torah. Parsha Bahar, Matchila Pirut Dinei Shmita. There was one on the Shmita, as Rashi brings, the Rebbe is going to quote the basic point of Rashi, that the whole meaning of Shemitah is very nogeh to all the mitzvahs. It's got a very essential connection with all the mitzvahs. So he says about pure din Shemitah, Vaymeras shekol haprotim ha'ilo. Rashi brings it. This is a quote from Rashi, that all the details that are written in the parsha about Shemitah, Nemru l'Moshe Bahar Sinai. He heard all these things. Bahar Sinai, when he heard the mitzvah of Shemitah, he heard all the details as well. That there's no difference between the mitzvah itself and the details, they were all given at Sinai. שמכאן לומדים חכמינו שכל פרטי המצוות, all the details of all the mitzvahs, נאמרו בהר סיני. They were all given to Moshe on Sinai. Parashat B'choi, that's Parashat Bahar. Parashat B'choi mistayemes b'milim. If you look at the end of Parashat B'choi, it says, Eil ha-mitzvahs asher tziva Hashem es Moshe el b'nei Yisrael b'har Sinai. The whole Parashat B'choi also finishes with a stress that all the mitzvahs were given on Har Sinai. So we see that both Bahar and B'choi have a very close connection with the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai. He said, "Avo parshas elu lo yimuzkar klal midbar Sinai." Of in these two parshas, despite the fact they have an open connection with Mount Torah, doesn't mention desert. On the contrary, it mentions a mountain. El rak Har Sinai, v'shayla hamidbakeshes hu. And the question which also told is, Madua, why in two parshas that have got a very close connection, they talk about the mountain. And the parsha that's got a more direct connection and interrupts between them and Midbar Sinai talks about a midbor and says that the midbor is the key factor. So here we see that in two parshas it's written that Har Sinai is the key factor. And here we see that Midbar Sinai is the key factor. So you need to work out what is the key. What is the key factor? Even though, of course, geographically and simply, Har Sinai was in Midbar Sinai. But why is it that our parsha, Midbar, it stresses that the whole thing was Midbar? And Har Sinai is mentioned in the other two parshas, but it seems that they are overweight by the union of Midbar. So we need to understand why. So he says, Tzorich Lovin, Ma Siva Shanoisnim Chashivas Lamokim HaSpecifi Boi Nitna Torah. So the Rebbe says, there's another issue here which comes up. We need to understand what is it so important where the Torah was given. The specific place in the world where the Torah was given, and our parsha and the parshas before that make a big thing of it. They said it was in Har Sinai, or it was Midbar Sinai, and that's where the Torah was. What's it matter where it was in the world? He said, Harei Torah mashpia al kol olam kuloi. The Torah shines to the whole world, and it's meant for the whole world, and it affects the whole world. If so, what does it matter exactly where it was given? And why do you make such a big issue out of the fact it was given Davka of Midbar Sinai? So he said, why don't we make a big issue out of the Mokim specific? Boi nitna Harei Torah mashpia kol olam kuloi. Mikach chayovim anu lahasik. From that we have to reach a conclusion. Shemokim zeh madgish es pu'ulas haTorah bo'olam kuloi. That the fact that it was given in a desert, well, that is indicatory of what is meant to be the whole effect of the Torah on the whole world. The connection between the giving of the Torah in a desert and its effect on the whole world, we have to say is how do you call it, a key factor. That there's something there that affects the Torah's way of affecting the world through the fact that it was given a midbar in a desert. So he said we have to understand, what is that? So the Rebbe said, let's go over to Pirkei Avos. In order to understand all this we have to go first of all to Pirkei Avos. So he said Pirkei Avos, and he called b'Shabbat zu. This was in Chutzlot, in that particular Shabbat, they read what we read just last week. They read Perikei. And Perikei begins, the Mishnah begins, Pasora Mamores Nivra Oilom. There were 10 statements, the world was created. Al-Kak Mavua Bazoya. So the Rebbe said, if we look up in the Zoya, that's very interesting. Where's it written in the Zoya? In Pasha Nosai. And Parashat Nosa is also before Matan Torah, this year. So he says, it's written in the Zohar, שכנגד 10 מאמורים שבהם נברא העולם, ישנם 10 דיברות. That the Zohar says that these two things are parallel and they interact one with the other. The fact that the world was created with the 10 statements is also got to do with the fact that the Torah has 10 basic dibri, 10 basic statements. שבהם ניתנה התורה, והם מקיימים את העולם. And he said, Adarabba, the Asoras Mamoris are controlled and kept going by the Asoras Adibras. Tavki, because the Asoras Adibras are Torah, then they are Makayim, the Asoras Mamoris. And they interact in such a way that the Asoras Mamoris need the effect of the Asoras Adibras. He said, Oilam Nivra B'Shvil HaTorah. The whole world, as Rashi brings at the beginning of Bereshit, that the world was created for the sake of the Torah. But B'Schus Limud HaTorah Mishkayim Oilam. After when Eden learned Torah, then the world holds up, as it brought down also in the Zohar. That through learning Torah, that keeps the world going. That's even brought down in certain great Mephoshim of the Zohar, that you must have somewhere in the world hidden learning Torah. That no matter where you are in the world, because since the world is over, when it's night, in certain places it's day, so there's always somebody learning Torah, even in one part of the world they're asleep, in another part of the world they're awake. So there's always somebody learning Torah, and that has to be. Because if there weren't limit Torah, the world wouldn't be able to hold out. So that's what he says. The Aseres Dibros, they are parallel and they affect the Aseres HaMamoros, and they are Mekayim, the Aseres HaMamoros. But Torah, Oisha Sholem B'Yolam. And even more, the Zohar completes its statement by saying that the Torah brings Sholem into the world. And we'll see later on, what do we mean by Sholem? What sort of peace is brought into the world by the Torah? But does anybody wake up, some of you guys, does anybody know where it's brought down that the Torah brings Shalom Ba'elam? It's a Mefurish Rambam. The Rambam writes at the end of Hilchos Chanukah. Right at the end of Hilchos Chanukah, the Rambam says, "Kol haTorah kula lo nitno ela lahovi sholem lo elo." Yeah, and he's marking it. The whole meaning of the Torah. So it's a medrash. There's a medrash, a very special medrash, which says that the whole meaning of the Nasinas HaTorah is to bring peace into the world. So the Rebbe says, Im Kain, it's like we've got 3 inyanim. We got the Aseres HaMamoros, the Aseres HaMamoros, and they are backed up by the Aseres HaDibros, and they're given their strength to keep going through the Aseres HaDibros, and the ultimate effect of all that is to bring peace into the world. And therefore the Rebbe is going to say, towards the end of the Sikha, the Rebbe is going to say that's why you have to have, before Matan Torah, you have to have Shabbos. No.
bamidbor.
You have to have a Shabbos Achdus. How many of you guys, I would have thought some of you guys are Chabadnikim around here. Yeah, you have to have a Shabbos Achdus for Buddhists, because the whole meaning of the Torah is Lasa Sholem. And if there's Achdus, and what happened to Matan Torah? Yeah. All the Yidden were Kelei Vechot, Keish Echot, Rashi brings. Just before the Torah was given, they were all like one person, all united together. But Tachlis Achdus, so they said, oh, now's the moment to give the Torah quick, before any Machlekes develops. And Rashi writes that after that, there was always a Machlekes here or there. But at that moment, there was complete Achdus. So the Rebbe said, we're going to work back to that moment. And therefore, before Shavuos, you got to have a Shabbos after. And that's all in him. But the Zoya completes the whole picture by saying that. So it all just shows you that everything makes sense.
Can you repeat what you said after the...
You have to talk out, you have to shout.
Would you mind repeating what you said after the 10 statements of creation and the
It's
10
very hard
commandments?
for me to repeat myself because I can hardly talk. I'll just say it quickly again, that you have a series dibros, the 10 commandments, you have 10 statements which brought about the creation. They interact. Series dibros, which are Torah, they are Makayim, the Solomon, they keep the Solomon going, and then that causes Sholem in the world. So the Rebbe says, a Mishnah, Mamshicha, but that Mishnah goes further, and it says, Basora Mamores, Nivra Ho'ilon, okay, and then it says, V'haloi b'mayma echad, Yochel lehiboris, but behold, Hashem could have created the whole world in one maimah, in one statement. Ella, why did he do it in 10? He could have done it in one, but he decided to do it in 10. Ella lehipora min harushoyim, to punish and to take punishment from the Rishoyim. Shema'abdim as oilam shenivra basora mamori. Since it's created in detail, and the Rishoyim interfered, and they're messing it up. So they have to be punished. But also, Yisocher tzadikim, to give a reward to the tzadikim that they're Mekayimim as oilam shenivra basora mamori. But the reason why the herbs are created in detail was for what we call bechira. There should be a choice. There's so many details that you could go this way or that way. If it would be created with one maimah, the Rebbe is going to explain, everything would be too obvious. It would all be clear that it's from the herbs. But now it's created in 10 different ways, and they also break up into other details. And therefore, you got a choice. You get all sorts of different details in front of you, and you get a choice. You can go this way or that way. But the Mishnah puts it in a very strange way. It said we made 10 Maimoris in order to take punishment from the Rishoyim and to give a good reward to the Tzadikim, which would tend to imply that there's some beginning in that itself, to punish the Rishoyim, to give a reward to the Tzadikim. Well, that's called Tzcha Ba'oini, that's called reward and punishment. So the Rebbe said, make it with one maimah, and then you won't have to punish anybody, and you won't have to give reward to anybody. Make it with one maimah. What did you have to do it that way for? Nishelet ha'sheila, im ha'olam ha'yochel liboris al-yidei maimah echad. If the world could have been created through one statement, one maimah, loma ha'rishoyim tzrichim lahafsid. Why do the Rishoyim have to lose? Because and the Abraham wanted to make it up to 10. So the Rishoyim have to cough out. So make it with one, and then nobody will cough out. No, nobody will be punished. And the tzaddikim make it with one maimah, and everybody be equal. Why did you make it in such a way that the Rishoyim have to end up suffering from the whole thing, and the tzaddikim end up being a prophet. Make it in such a way lechatchila b'mayma ela. He said, "Shakadosh Baruch Hu lo yibora es ha'olam stam kach b'asorim mamori." Ela, that is for sure that Hashem didn't create just stam with a set of memories. Kidei livro es ha'olam o yatzorek sheyeh b'foyo. So the Rebbe said it didn't go that either that way or that way. What happened was that it's two different stages and two different ways. It's two different stages and two different ways in the way Hashem created the creation. In other words, that he created first of all b'mayma echad, and then he went down to a Solomon. So that changes the situation. There is a mayma echad, and if you really want to work hard, you can get through the 10 back to the 1. But if you don't want to work hard, then you got to put up with it. But the mayma echad is really there. So that's an amazing chiddush. He said, "There is kidei lira as oilom, where tzorech sheyeh b'foyo gam mayma echad. Sheyotza es matzias kiyam choyma ha'oilom." The Ramban brings at the beginning of his parashat Torah that creation in Lashon Kodesh is bara. The word to create is livro, bara. And that's yesh mi ayin. He said the only meaning of the word bara is yesh mi ayin. So the first thing the Eibishter created was what he called over there the choyma harishon. The olam habriya is called a simple choyma, a ruchnistic choyma, a material. It's a very famous doctrine from the Ramban. So the Rebbe says that it comes out that the Matziyah of Mayma Echad brought about this whole meaning that the world is there. It just exists with what you might call a shapeless choyma. The Suroi. He said the Asorim Mamoris, they bring about what we call the Tzura, they call it the shape and the details. He said, "V'gam Asorim Mamoris, shemehem nivro kol hatzurei shel hanivroim v'kol proteihem." So the two things, there's a mayma echad and a Asorim Mamoris. It's not that it could have been done that way, but in effect it was done that way. The reason we say it could have been done was Hashem could have stopped there and not come down to this. But in effect he did create.
Mechus Mitzias.
Yeah. No, it's not Mahus and Matthias. Both of them are just Matthias. It's two different dargas in the Matthias. You follow? So he says, I have the whole parashat. What's the difference? He said, Briyas ha'olam b'mayma echad. At the creation of the world through one statement, it gisha es koicha shel haboirei. But that showed the greatness of the Creator. Yesha b'koicha livre yesh mi'ayin. He can create the nothing, the something from the absolute nothing. And the Rebbe's marich over there in the greatness of yesh mi'ayin. And it's only the Atzmus Ein Sof as that power, as a brought down in Tanya. Ve'ilo matzias anira enu mudgeshes klal. If we're talking about the etz of koyer v'yesh mi'ayin, we don't talk about the nira. We talk about the greatness of Hashem. Yeah, kivan shegam kashu nira lo yehoy Elohim matzias klal. Even after he's created, he's part of matzias in the oil of the koyer of Hashem to create him. K'mavur in shara yichad ve'emunah. The Takif through the Bria, Yesh Mi'ayin, the Nivra has no Matziyah. If it would have been only the creation, Yesh Mi'ayin, then the Nivra would have been bottled altogether. So that's why Hashem went down into a sort of Mamar. He went down into more detail and created in 10 segments, because that emphasizes Takif the Matziyahs and the Chashivas of the Nivroim, of the creator being. If we talk about the Mayma Echad, we're only talking about the greatness of Hashem and the nothingness of the Nivroim. But if you say you create the whole thing also, Basorim Mamorim, then that switches the other way. Then you talk about the detailed concept of the Matthias of the creator being. And you say it has a certain importance. Even called Protea Nivroim, with all the details of all the Nivroim. Asorim Mamoris, you connected Esa Tchunetz Kloliyah. He said that these Asorim Mamoris were parallel to the 10 characteristics, general. She'im koidelim es kol ha'mailos sheyesh bo'elam. And that's the Esa Spirit. Now the Rebbe doesn't want to get involved in the Esa Spirit here, so he calls them Esa Tchunetz Kloliyah. She'im koidelim es kol Amilet, Chesed, Gvura, Tveret, and all those things. So what does it mean? When I created a sort of Mamoret, then I brought about a situation where I see the importance of each and every, that the Nivri, even though he's nothing, he's bottled by Matthias in the Kohecha and so on. So Hashem wanted him to have a certain importance. And in Davkin through a sort of Mamoret, you can see and recognize that importance. Had it only been with one Maimah, then he wouldn't have spoken about his importance, only the greatness of Hashem. So we see the unbelievable of the Rebbe, that the Rebbe is not passing the Nivra away, but he's making the Nivra important. And that's why you have 10 things. What's it going to do with the Rishoyim and with the Tzaddikim? But it brings out your Maila, what you can really do. If you can really do, then you're expected to do it. And if you don't, you become a Rosh. That's for sure. And if you do everything right, then you become a tzaddik. And so then Hashem pays for it. He recognizes that that's an important factor, like Avidah Nivroim, and therefore he pays up. Hashem. Okay, if it would have been created with the one Mama, everything would have been bottled. We would have only spoken about the greatness.
Bli avoda. Bli avoda.
So what it follows is that the Eibush that Davki wants, we should talk about the Chashiva of the Nivra. And Davki, we should know that the created creature is very important. He's nothing, but he's very important just the same. And that's why he brought about the 10 Maimonides, that they turn things into a Matthias, and that Matthias becomes a certain importance and significance in Hashem's eyes. So he says, also in the giving of the Torah, there are also these two inyanim. He said, Alman Torah nema betchila achas tibe elokim shtayim zu shamati. It's a pasuk in Tilim. The Torah HaMelech says that by Matan Torah we heard achas from Hashem, but we didn't. Hashem spoke achas. But we heard two. In other words, we heard a multiplicity, but Hashem spoke only one. So the Rebbe says, Keneged Maima Echad, Mitzad Echad, the whole Torah belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's Chokhmah, Achas, Im HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's all united, B'tachlis with Him, and it's beyond the world altogether. It's just Mavatal the world. And that's the Indian from Achas. Achas meaning there's only one Matthias, Hashem, and the world is bottled. That's Keneged Maima Echad. That's the Maima Echad. But he said, Mitzad Shayni, HaTorah Yod Olei Shtayim Zu Shamati. The Yidden, they heard too. And the Torah came down into the world, and it relates to the man and makes him important, like we just said. To all the details of the world. Keneged Tariag Aivorim Vegidim Sheyesh Ba'adam. Oh, the Rebbe said the etzem giving of the Torah Lamata was all according to man. The mitzvahs were arranged in such a way that they're according to the limbs and the sinews, or how they call them, the veins and the sinews of a man. Keneged Asura Man. We see that there was a in the Matan Torah was only Hashem. Hashem spoke Achas, how he's B'talazayim, but at the same time he came down and he made important the whole ribui of the world in such a way that he measured all the mitzvahs that he gave according to where the man is. So there is a day he said the way we relate to the Maimah Echad is al yidei birchas haTorah. The ikka is that we make a blessing on it. And we know that the Torah is not just a beautiful idea and a beautiful educational media and so on, but the Torah is divine. It comes from achas, from complete actus apshuta. Masha mevater bitol el noisan Torah, which means that you become completely poter, and you bless Hashem knowing that you're nothing. And so therefore Megalim as per Gambo Oilam is a bittul shel Oilam leBoiroi. So he says, apart from that, apart from a bittul of yourself to Hashem by making birchas haTorah, he said we also bring about the bittul of the whole world. That the whole world is bottled with bittul because it came about yesh me'ayin. They limit Torah, but through studying Torah, limit kol haprotim v'adinim. When we learn all the halachas and all the details, protim asora mamori shebetorah. That's the 10 commandments. Not the Torah how it's all one thing, but the Torah has become all sorts of details. Megalim ba'olam shekol mitziyusay v'kol proto heim kedoshim. That everything is of importance, all the details also. But tafkidon, v'rak legali says but if we would go purely mitzad birchas haTorah, then everything would be bottled, and it wouldn't be all the detailed halachas and all that sort of thing. Because Hashem wanted to give importance to the man and to the creation, therefore He gave down all the details in Torah. So we see in Torah there's also the two inyanim. Maimah echad and the van asora mamori. Avamer nesakim zois kach. The Rebbe said to sum all this up, what we're going to say is that each one of them has got a tremendous milah. But the ultimate perfection is to unite them together and to bring from the Maimah echad into the asora mamori. To unite them together, that in all the many and all the importance of the chashivas of the nivra, he should nonetheless feel how everything is bottled to the Maimah echad. And the Maimah echad should know that its inyan is to come down and light up all the asara mamor. Nesakim zoiskach, ha-Maimah echad poyel bitl v'aliyah ba'olam. The Maimah echad causes them as a bitl. Everybody knows that he's really nothing. And the asara mamor is the 10 statements, or the 10 dibras, mamshichim or mekachim, gam es kol matzias oilam. From that we see a me'idoch hamayla sheyesh b'asara zadibras. I'm sorry, b'asara mamor is from one side, the maila that there is in the 10 statements, Shahim Mekachim es Oilam Kafi Shehu, Ava Kedusha Hi Kedusha B'Daga Namucha Yoseh, Ashayach es Loilam. And that's for sure that the asara mamor is, even though the Zohar says that they're milin de'ed yoter, they're simple things like Gabi Hashem, but they have an importance in that they're also divine, and they keep the world going. He said, however, that's a lower, as it were, level of importance in Elokus. Ashleimasi, the perfection is B'shah Shagam Dagas Elokus, Shalamayla Me'o'elam Maimah echad Yochel Lihiboris, and the Maimah echad, well, that should come down and enter and penetrate the world. Ozi Edira LaKodesh Baruch Hu Atzmai. Then the world becomes not just a place where there's also Elokus there, but it becomes a dira to the Eibishter. LaKodesh Baruch Hu Atzmai, Gam LeLokus Shalamayla Me'o'elam. Also Elokus was Shalamayla Me'o'elam. Can we call dira normally is, in other words, a dira has got itself two things. On the one hand, a dira is a place for the atzmas of the match. And his whole etzem, atzmas goes into the dira. Otherwise it's not a dira. On the other hand, once he gets into the Dira, then he brings out all his own details, and he reveals in the Dira all sorts of minor things which are also important. So he said that's the whole inyan of Dira b'Tachtonim. We want to bring the Maimah Erod, the absolute Matthias of Hashem, how His Atzmus is about God to create Yesh Me'ayin. That's Asmas, and that's important in the Dira, to bring it down in the Dira, and we call the Dira Tachtonim. We don't want the Dira to change, we want it to be all the details that came about from the Asura Mamoris in the Dira, but in that should be Meir, the Atzmas Ein Toim. And then you got Emes a Dira b'Tachtonim, and then you got a Dira Lo Yisborah, but you've also got the world in a real way, and the two unite together. And that's Dira b'Tachtonim. Does it the Dira b'Tachtonim? But you have to forgive me. That's very hard for me. I can't talk more. And I had a whole fight with my Rebbe. She says you can't go on. So I don't want to overdo too much, but at the end the Rebbe says that all means Lapoyo, that he's got to make sure that B'Shad, the Kriyas HaTorah, or the Aseres HaDibros in the Beis Knesset, you have to bring all the children in, and then he brings, like we said before, that Indian of the Asura Mamoris and the Gilei Akus in the Asura Mamoris, the Aseres HaDibros, according to the Zohar, that goes the Actors, Sholem. And you have to make sure that there be Emes Actors, and therefore the Rebbe calls for a Shabbos before Matan Torah, which he calls a Shabbos Actors. That all the Eden should come together, they should all be like Matan Torah, how it was in the Midbar, Kulam B'Leiv Echad, Ke'ish Echad, and Tavki through that Actors, then we say to Matan Torah of Melech Mashiach.